Cheers.
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 Jamie and I are having wine today.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Archives. I'm Jamie talking to Leo.
And I'm Leo listening to Jamie.
And this week, we are going to finally be covering a woman that I have wanted to cover since we had the idea to do this podcast. We are going to be talking about Elizabeth Báthory.
Yes. I know this woman.
She's quite a famous woman. But if you'll recall, this was like one of the first ideas that I pitched to you when we were discussing doing this podcast.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about her, and the day has arrived. It is time to talk about her.
Very cool. I know a little bit about her, and I can't wait to learn some more.
Well, as always, we are going to start at the beginning. In 1526, Hungary had been partitioned into 3 different regions, one being ruled by the Habsburgs, one being ruled by the Ottomans, and the other being Transylvania. Just its own little thing, its own little area.
This is the famous Habsburgs, as in the Habsburg jaw.
Yes. Yes, one and the same. Those beautiful incestual creatures.
Yes, if no one knows what that is a famous royal family that was so incestuous, they had like a very specific pronounced jaw.
Yeah, if you've not seen it before, you got to look up what the Habsburg jaw looks like, because it's a pretty pronounced deformity on this family. But because of the division of this nation, Hungary at this time was war-torn. It was divided not only physically, but also religiously and economically. It was a rough area. Religious dissent was flourishing thanks to Protestant and Catholic strife. So we got a little bit of a little feud between those two. This is the Hungary that Elizabeth Báthory was born into on August 7th, 1560. She came from a very prominent Protestant family. And now when I say prominent, I mean very prominent. Her family pretty much ruled Transylvania. Her uncle was the King of Poland, and other members in the family included cardinals, knights, and judges.
She had quite the family name, yeah.
Yeah, very high up members of society all held her last name. Now, Elizabeth was beautiful and extremely well educated, but she was also said to be epileptic, or at the very least, she occasionally had seizures. She would suffer from migraines and then have seizures.
Okay.
At just 15 years old, she married Count Nadasdy, and they moved into his family castle. Young, 15, young to be married. Around this time, Elizabeth started to spend more time with her, we'll call her interesting, Aunt Carla Báthory. And I mean interesting in the way of Carla being very heavily into sadomasochism.
That's pretty interesting.
Very interesting, and she enjoyed teaching Elizabeth all the interesting things she knew. Elizabeth was also said to have had an uncle who was pretty heavily into Satanism, and he would talk to her about this kind of stuff as well. In doing this research, I saw mentions of the uncle and a lot more of the aunt teaching her stuff, whereas the uncle might be a fun little embellishment. Worth noting anyway.
And for our educated listeners, her aunt.
Oh, you know.
I shouldn't say educated.
Snobby. Stuck up. Annoying.
For our classy listeners.
Oh, classy.
It's her aunt.
Auntie Carla.
Try calling my Aunt Venus Auntie. See what happens.
What'd she backhand me? I grew up...
She lives in the woods. You might not come back.
I grew up calling all of my aunts Auntie. They were all Auntie. And it's Auntie Anne's pretzels, not Auntie Anne's pretzels.
Bet you if you go to England, it's Auntie Anne's.
Bet you if you go to England, they're spelling gray with the letter E. Things are different over there.
I spell gray with the letter E.
You're supposed to do it A, because A is for America, E is for England.
It doesn't matter. They're both gray.
I'm aware, but also color has a U in it out there.
Color.
Which
This is all getting cut.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but just between us. Like, oh, what a lovely color.
Yes.
Okay. Now, thanks to the religious turmoil of the time, different practices started gaining a bit more popularity. Things like witchcraft, alchemy, Satanism, less traditional religions.
What year is this?
We're in the late 1500s, 1570, 1580.
A lot of witch stuff going on then.
A lot of witch stuff going on, yeah, for sure.
We covered that in witches.
We did cover that in witches, yeah. Starting in 1585, the couple would go on to have 4 or 5 children, but her husband would pass away in 1604. So about 30 years of marriage. And then he passed away. While her husband was alive, though, he had been gone a lot in battling during the 15-year war. He was rarely at home, but he did do a little renovation to ensure that Elizabeth was comfy at the castle. He had built her a torture chamber that fit her specifications, and he was even said to have helped with or initiated some of the torture sessions.
What a loving husband.
Very, very courteous, very conscientious of what his wife wants.
She says, hey, my auntie gave me a little kink. And are you okay with that kink? And he said, baby, I'll help you with this kink. I'll build you a chamber, and I'll initiate the torture sessions.
He was very supportive. It is believed that he actually gifted her a pair of gloves that had spikes on them, so she could abuse all the better. And isn't that just a thoughtful little present from hubby?
Match made in heaven.
Match made in hell.
Exactly. Good catch. Thank you for that.
You are welcome. But after his death, Elizabeth fully embraced being a hellion, a buck-wild little hellion. Now, I'm gonna warn you, I'm getting into some nasty shit here. It's gonna get a little graphic. It seems that while her husband had been helping her in some of the torture, he might have also been restraining her a little bit. Some of her methods of torture included covering young girls in honey and then leaving them for insects to devour them. Deadly ice baths in the winter months, or jamming pins and needles under their fingernails or toenails.
That made me wince, so
Oh, yeah.
I believe that is a effective torture method.
And after dear husband had departed, she was free to be as cuckoo banana nuts as she wanted, and she did. She embraced that. She, along with a few women assistants, now took to just kidnapping. Kidnapping young peasant girls, her own servants weren't good enough, we needed new meat. And she would then bite chunks of their flesh off, which the anger involved in that. She pulled a little Ned Low. She had a little Ned Low moment, and she would cut their lips and noses, with a report being that she even forced at least one girl to then consume her lips or nose.
Very Ned Low.
Very Ned Low.
I also have a comment to the biting chunks part. I could be pulling this out of my rear end. But I seem to remember that biting a chunk out of a human is relatively easy. It's more of a mental block that stops us from doing it.
Yeah. Isn't there something that you technically could bite your finger off like a carrot?
Yeah, it just snap right off there. If you got past the mental barrier. So I could see if you dehumanize someone enough in your mind that taking a chunk out of them be easy peasy.
Ooh, I actually got the chills when you said that. That is so gross. That is fucking foul. But yes, you are correct in saying that. That is... Well, she would also whip them with stinging nettle, which you know what stinging nettle is? That plant?
Like thistles.
Yeah. She would whip them with that. She would also burn the girls. Anywhere, everywhere, just burning them. And the ever famous, I'm pretty sure you know this, but what do we think of when we think of Miss Báthory?
When I think of her bathing in the blood of young women who she deems beautiful so she can stay beautiful.
That is exactly what I was going to say. Yep. The ever-famous bathing in blood. No, the bathing in blood, while it is the most famous, it is also the most disputed. The first account of her doing this, like her being associated with this, wasn't written about until at least 100 years after her death.
That's 100 years of telephone.
Uh-huh.
A lot of things change when you're telling stories by word of mouth.
Yes, and especially if you're trying to embellish or exaggerate a little bit. With that in mind, the story goes that while she was getting her hair brushed by a maid, something happened and she turned around and struck the girl. Which, not to pull up another old episode again, but very Madame LaLaurie of her. Beating your servants because they brushed your hair wrong? Either way, when she struck this girl who was brushing her hair, a drop of blood fell and landed on her arm. And when she went to wipe the blood away, her skin appeared whiter, smoother, just seemed healthier underneath where the blood had touched. So this is where she got the idea, young virgin blood will help all of me stay young, beautiful, pure. That's how the story goes of where she got this idea from. Elizabeth opened her doors for young women of noble families to come and learn under her the ways and the rules of royalty, nobility.
And torture?
Well, they learned about torture, but not in a good way.
Okay.
This would be her undoing. While the whole community knew that peasants, maids, servants, all of them, they were going missing, that was okay. That wasn't necessarily a problem. But as soon as girls of nobility started going missing...
We gotta put a stop to this.
No, it's affecting me now? Oh, well, that just simply won't do.
Not in our high society.
So yeah, it was fine when she was taking lower class young women, but get a fancy girl and all of a sudden we need to get the crown involved. Her high standing had granted her a certain immunity in terms of just looking the other way or pretending we didn't hear about that torture, that missing girl. But once nobility started going missing, it got elevated higher and higher and higher until finally the newly elected king had to get involved.
And what do you do?
Well, in 1610, King Matthias took action and requested an investigation into Elizabeth and what she was doing. Heading this investigation was actually Elizabeth's own cousin, Georgi, who was the Count Palatine of Hungary. Palatine was essentially just like a royal deputy. He was involved in judicial matters higher up. Between 1610 and 1611, Georgi got the testimonies of around 300 witnesses or survivors.
Damn.
Yeah, he was thorough. When there was sufficient enough evidence, Elizabeth and her assistants were placed under arrest. Now, one of two things happened during this arrest. They either interrupted her in the middle of a torture session, or when they came in to arrest her, they found an absolute bucket load of physical evidence, such as mutilated, dying, or already dead girls in the castle.
Either she had parts of people all over her castle, or they walked into her torture chamber and she was all like, oh yeah, no, I'm not doing this. What are you talking about?
Sitting there covered in blood and just looks over.
Yeah.
Oop.
Me? Torturing? Are you crazy?
Is that what you're calling this? Yeah, so either one of those situations occurred. Pick your favorite. But she was officially, her and her assistants were arrested. Once they were put on trial for murder, the assistants were found guilty and 3 out of 4 of them were executed immediately, but one was spared execution, and I'm not entirely sure what happened to her afterwards. I found nothing regarding the 4th who escaped execution.
Just slinked into the night?
Yeah. And
restarted her life?
You know what? Hopefully changed for the better. But yeah, just kind of zoop, 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 disappeared. While Elizabeth was finally busted for being a nasty little bitch, she was still exempt from the regular punishment. Instead of being put to death like the others, she was ordered to isolation and confinement. She technically wasn't even really put on trial, so there was never an official verdict.
Where was her isolation? Did she have to go somewhere else? Or was she like, is this like house arrest back in the day?
She was essentially put under house arrest, yeah. Well, because of her high-standing nobility status, the king wanted to avoid a public trial and the scandal and drama that would come from that.
Just like nowadays, the more money you got and the more people you know, the less trouble you're in.
And 100%. Her punishment was literally just to be walled up in a room of her castle. It was not great, obviously, but she wasn't executed.
Literally walled up?
Literally walled up, yes. They left her just small openings for air and food to be passed through into her room.
Oh, so she was straight up imprisoned in her castle.
Yes. No windows, no doors. They bricked her up.
She was fully bricked up?
She was fully bricked up.
You know what that's a euphemism for, right?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, no, there was just little openings so that way she could get fresh air and that way they could pass her food.
Okay, that's a lot better than what I thought. I thought they were just saying, hey, hang
Stay
on
in
your
your
castle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this chick can just get other people to go grab chicks for her, grab peasant chicks and bring them back.
Yeah, no, they did actually, she was thrown in jail, essentially. But she wasn't executed. Although now that I'm saying it out loud, I think I would have preferred to have been executed. It seems a lot better than just sitting in my dark, dank little fucking hidey hole.
Yeah, did she have a window? She could...
No window.
No window?
No window, no doors. Just the little fucking gaps for air and food.
Where did she dump her chamber pot?
Oh my god, I don't know.
This is before plumbing.
Yeah, no, 100%.
She didn't have a window.
Ew, oh my gosh, I don't know.
Hopefully the food hole was big enough to slide her chamber pot under to get dumped. Otherwise, it just smells like nasty in there.
Oh, that's gross. I didn't even consider.
Yeah, I would have rather the gallows.
Yeah, oh my gosh, yes, 100%. Just kill me. Kill me. Don't make me do this. I'll do it myself. Get me some dirt. I'm not sitting in here. I'm not doing that.
Jamie and her dirt.
That sounds horrid. Like reading it and writing it down, I was like, man, this bitch got to live. Like, all because she's a noble. But oh my gosh, now that we're actually talking about it.
Yeah, and there's no dirt 'cause she's in a castle. That's your worst nightmare.
That is my worst nightmare.
Being trapped and not having dirt.
Give me my dirt.
For anybody unaware, in any situation that is too hard to live with, her ancient method of suicide preference is eating dirt.
I can't hang.
This episode brought to you by BetterHelp.
This episode brought to you by my backyard dirt.
So now that she's fully bricked up, what do we got going on?
That's it. She remained there until her death in August of 1614 at the age of 54 years old.
4 years.
Yeah. Yeah. While it doesn't sound super long considering the...
4 years trapped in a room sounds like a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, with just nothing. But keep in mind, she was accused of murdering up to 650 girls. You can't do that, Elizabeth. You can't fucking do that.
I figured she had a high death count, but also it's a little shocking to me that the big claim to fame and the thing that I know her for is probably the least reliable thing we know about her. And all that other stuff, the torture, like having a torture chamber and doing all that stuff and being super into the S&M stuff.
Yeah.
I had zero idea about that. I literally thought she was killing virgins to bathe in their blood to stay young, and she got caught doing that. And that's what happened. I didn't know she was...
just fully into torture for the fuck of it.
Yeah, devil woman behind the scenes anyway.
Yeah.
Like, of course you gotta be bad to do that, but she was...
No, she was just...
worse, even.
Yeah, worse. And what's crazy is that the torture things that I told you about, those came from the testimonies of witnesses and survivors. Whereas the blood bathing, came later
like
in history.
Years later, yeah.
Yeah. all that other stuff might be exaggerated, which we actually are going to touch on in just a second. But because it's coming from all these witnesses and survivors, I think there's a higher chance that is the truth.
I'd agree.
Either way, she's dead. And she was originally buried in the town cemetery, but the whole town was completely enraged at the idea of this. So she was then moved to her childhood home and was apparently buried in her family crypt. But the location of her exact grave today is unknown.
Oh, the shame that family must have had.
Oh my, I know.
Oh, we'll take care of her. Throw her over a damn cliff somewhere.
I mean, we have kings, voivodes. You remember the Drac episode?
Mm-hmm.
Vlad. Voivodes, cardinals, knights, judges, kings, all these high-ranking members, and yet we only know them because this woman went fucking crazy and was killing people left, right, front, and center.
Yeah, the only Báthory I know of is her.
Mm-hmm. Could you imagine? My family legacy is completely ruined because of one person.
Or they now all have fame and renown.
The Báthory name lives on.
Because of her.
Very true. Yeah, she wanted to stay young forever. I mean, she kind of did immortalize herself. Not in the way she was expecting, but here we are in the year 2026 talking about her. Which, speaking of modern times, this is where the story takes an interesting turn. As I said, the bloodbathing wasn't mentioned until about 100 years after her death. So there is speculation on if that's true at all. And there is conversation about if Elizabeth was guilty of any of this.
Like this could have been an original witch hunt from back in the day where maybe they just didn't like this woman. And so 300 people got together because maybe they'd have rights to land or rights to this or not have to work for a cruel woman anymore and made up a bunch of lies about how she tortured and messed with people and bathed in blood.
Pretty fucking close. Pretty fucking close, honestly. One theory is that King Matthias owed her a debt. So rather than paying this debt, why not trump up some charges against her? Get her out of the way.
Yeah, mess with me. I got different ways to get rid of you other than killing you.
I will entomb you alive. Another theory says that while she did commit some of these crimes, they were extremely embellished to make her look bad enough to go down because there were some political enemies who thought that her downfall would be beneficial to them.
Yep. So instead of, let's just do this made up scenario. A maid broke one of her glasses, so she brought her in a side room and gave her lashings and whipped her pretty good.
Yeah. Not cool.
Not cool, but
pretty par for the course.
She got her ass kicked a little bit and then went along her way, right? And so they grow that whole story too. She has a giant torture chamber. She has gloves with spikes.
It's stinging nettle whips.
And yeah, she's just whipping the shit out of people and like 600 victims.
Yeah.
And in reality, it might have been like 5 servants that she punished harshly because of various things around the house, but not what they're saying.
Yeah, that is a theory. That is something that people have
I like that.
brought up. Either way, whatever happened, happened, and here we are.
I will say I do like a little twist, you know?
It's fun. It's fun to have a little bit of conversation as to, you know, what was exaggerated for the shock factor, what was true, what was a bold-faced lie. You know, we don't know.
Yeah, and I love the idea that we could all have a view of this woman as a wolf in sheep's clothing. She came off as a high society member to your face, but was a devil behind closed doors. But what if she's just a victim of circumstance and political games? Because don't we know that shit happens?
Today, though, she has been depicted in many movies, books, video games, shows, and again, and completely by accident, she was depicted in American Horror Story.
American Horror Story just picking all
the famous baddies.
Yeah, from history.
Yeah. I stopped watching before this season, so I don't know, but she was depicted in the Hotel season by Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga depicted her.
Okay.
But Judgment is entirely up to you whether her crimes were real or fabricated, true or exaggerated, or anything in between.
What a fun little deep dive, and also open-ended mystery. I like that.
I wanted to kind of leave it a little open-ended to hear what you guys think. I mean, I do personally believe she did at least a majority of what she was accused of.
And I'm going to play devil's advocate and say that she might have just been the victim of some political game happening back in the late 15, early 1600s.
Very well could be, especially with the family of the notoriety and the high standing that hers held. Could be.
Yeah, how do you deface somebody? How do you make somebody who is encroaching on your power, possibly?
You
slander them.
Yeah, you brick them up.
Yeah, slander them, imprison them, and now you're the only one, right?
Let them rot.
I'll say that could be a highly plausible theory. With my limited information on it, because, I didn't do the research.
I mean, that's pretty much what I got. There are obviously more exaggerated and more fantastical things, but I try to keep this podcast as factual as I can. I try not to add to the embellishments, but you know what I know. And I do think she was doing some bad stuff. I really do. I see what you mean, and I love that theory, but I don't know. I mean, you don't get those accusations out of thin air. She had to have been doing something.
She just had to piss off the wrong person.
It could be. Well, you guys let us know what you think about it. And you can do so by leaving a comment, sending us a message. You guys can follow our socials.
And I'll put all the links to those down in the description.
Thank you. The email will also be linked down in the description. You guys can send us an email there.
And as always, the best way to help the show grow is to leave us a rating on whatever platform you're listening on.
And with that, I think we will call it here, and we will see you guys next week for another episode of The Darchives. Thank
you for that story, and thank you for listening, guys.
Thank you, and goodbye. I'm telling you, I think she did it. I think she was a baddie bad. I really do.
I don't think she did. I think
political propaganda
was framed.